the time when the world was torn apart by war. World War I is a piece of history that will never be forgotten. It has shaped our modern world in many ways, and its impact can still be felt today. But what was it like for those who were actually on the front lines, risking their lives every day? Let's look at the experience of being a soldier in World War I from the perspective of those who lived it. Think of the intense heat of summer in the year 1914. The European nations, each with an air of defiance, stood on the precipice of conflict. They didn't know that they were on the brink of a war that would last 4 long years, leaving an indelible stain on the fabric of history. This was a war of unprecedented scale, far surpassing any conflict that the continent had previously witnessed. The major powers, Britain, France, the US, and Germany, meticulously recorded the devastating human cost of the war, yet the bloodshed was so extensive, so far-reaching, that historians have been grappling with the enormity of the casualties. Both military personnel and innocent civilians from a myriad of nations succumbed to the wrath of the conflict and their lives extinguished permanently. According to Michael Green, an associate professor of history at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the exact human cost of World War I is challenging to quantify. Green notes that some estimates even include deaths from the 1918 flu pandemic and the Armenian Genocide Committee by the Turks of the Ottoman Empire. These catastrophic events were not only concurrent with the war, but also intertwined. Therefore, the harrowing episodes that unfolded during this period were not isolated incidents, but a mosaic of interrelated tragedies that played out concurrently, adding layers of complexity to the already grim tableau of World War I. Those men and women who served in the First World War endured hardships beyond our imagination, battling the enemy forces and the inner demons that the brutal face of warfare summoned. The millions of brave souls who left their homes, their loved ones, and their familiar surroundings were plunged into a macabre dance of death and destruction that lasted for months, even years. They were thrust into the theater of war, a canvas painted with the terrifying colors of new, potent technologies that amplified the deadly nature of conflict like never before. These battlefields were not just geographical locations, but psychological landscapes that mirrored the darkness of human capacity for violence. The constant specter of death, the relentless noise of gunfire, the sight of comrades falling, all of these etched in indelible scars on their minds as they waded through mud and memories. Technological advancements at the tail end of the 19th century revolutionized warfare, equipping soldiers with artillery and machine guns that served as formidable defensive weapons. This defensive potential necessitated strategic fortifications, such as trenches, providing protection against enemy fire and enabling soldiers to retaliate without undue exposure to danger. The advent of poison gas in 1915 and tanks in 1916 added an element of unpredictability to combat tactics. Life in the trenches was often an extreme experience, oscillating between utterly desolate conditions and periods of monotony. Soldiers battled harsh weather, unrelenting noise, and the disorienting transformation of once familiar landscapes into fields of ruin. These soldiers bore the brunt of the brutalities that characterized World War I. The realities of warfare were laid bare when orders to go over the top were issued. Soldiers, weighed down by their weapons and heavy equipment, would be forced to emerge from the relative safety of their trenches, casting themselves into the enemy's field of fire. They would navigate a maze of barbed wire, their bodies hunched low to the ground in a desperate bid for survival. The primary objective was to infiltrate the enemy's front line, where troops would be hunkered down in their own trenches and engage them in direct combat, with rifles or bayonets as their weapons of choice. In theory, once the enemy forces were neutralized, the attacking soldiers would seize the now vacant position. However, the reality was far from this idealized strategy. Victorious attacks were the exception, not the norm. Casualties were staggering. Soldiers in the attacking force often suffered more injuries than those defending. The wounded men brought back to field hospitals bore testament to the price of each attempted attack, while the fallen could only be laid to rest during rare moments of respite in the relentless fighting. This drew in roughly 60 million men and women cloaked in uniforms, hailing from every corner of the world. These brave individuals served in different locations, from the picturesque landscapes of France to the arid expanses of Iraq, the historically rich Greece, and even the enigmatic depths of China. The stage of war expanded beyond land, spilled into the waters of the North Sea and the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Now, here's what we can't skip when talking about World War I. This horrific conflict stands out as one of the deadliest in human history, snuffing out over 16 million lives and forever altering countless others. The collective losses suffered by civilians and military personnel are estimated to hover around a staggering 37 million. The nightmarish toll of war claimed approximately 7 million civilians and 10 million brave soldiers. The Allies, or Entente powers, mourned around 6 million of their own, while the Central Powers grieved for 4 million. However, the battlefields were not the only theaters of death. Diseases born out of the harsh conditions of war accounted for an estimated 2 million deaths. An astounding 6 million souls went missing, their fates unknown, and are presumed to have been swallowed by the jaws of war. 2 out of every 3 soldiers lost their lives in the brutal throes of battle. The rest fell prey to infections or succumbed to disease, their bodies failing where their spirits did not. The haunting specter of the Spanish flu loomed over prisoner camps, reaping a grim harvest of lives. The accurate estimation of civilian deaths remain a formidable challenge. The war unleashed a cascade of ripple effects, disrupting trade, causing food shortages, and triggering widespread disease and malnutrition. Men who were once providers became soldiers, their absence from farms drastically reducing food production. So, this was a detailed video on what it was like being a soldier in the First World War. This was a dark era that we must never forget, lest we risk repeating its horrors. The sacrifices made by the brave soldiers and civilians are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable horrors. Let us remember them, honor them, and strive for peace so that their sacrifices may never be in vain. If you enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, let us know in the comments if you want to see more videos on similar topics. Goodbye until next time.